The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now, your hosts, Christy Scales, Aisha Morrison, Nicole Hutchison, and Jess Navarez.
Welcome into Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, right here in the SWBC studio. Nicole Hutchison here, alongside Aisha Morrison, Jess Navarez, and Miss Lovely Christy Scales. Ladies, this was not the Monday we wanted.
It ain't.
Not the Monday we wanted. Cowboys falling to the Eagles on the road, 28-23. First, let's just start with you, Christy. You were there for the atmosphere.
It's a great atmosphere.
Oh,
perfect day, perfect weather. Sold out crowd. The tickets were going upper deck for $490 each for the upper. Yeah, and the standing room only was going for $270 in the hour before the game. And full-throated Eagles fans. This wasn't one where there was a takeover of Cowboys fans behind the Cowboy bench. I mean, this was a hostile environment all the way, and totally entertaining. And the thing is, in spite of all of the mistakes, the self-inflicted wounds, it was still there for the taking at the very end. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't pull it off. And those self-inflicted wounds, particularly in that final drive, I think were symbolic of the game. But that's what was frustrating. But what was different was in the locker room after the game, like the very disappointing loss in San Francisco, that was a demoralizing locker room. But yesterday, I would describe it more as Dan Quinn didn't want to use the word today, confident. And he was kind of struggling for a word, and the word that popped into my mind was one of resolve in there, because they felt like they were going to win that game. They felt that they, and they know that if they are able to correct these mistakes, that they can go not only toe to toe with the Eagles but take them down.
Yeah, no, go ahead. No, I mean, I was just going to add on to that and just say I think you just have to be glad with how you finished that game. I mean,
yes and no. As
far as the way you competed.
Absolutely.
And that's something that Dan Quinn and Mike McCarthy both said today. You have to be happy about the way that you competed, because the way you went out against the 49ers in October was a little sad. But now you're actually showing that, hey, we belong on the field with the NFC's elite. And so, I mean, I think I'm actually proud of the way that the guys competed and performed all the way through.
I don't think the better team won yesterday, if I'm being honest. I think there were issues on both sides of the ball, but when you're talking about the elite Eagles, who are just this scary force of a threat in football, Cowboys put it up until the last 5 seconds of the game. I mean, it was wide open for the taking, and Dan Quinn kind of hit the nail on the head today in saying came down to two things for him as far as the defense, and that was not getting any takeaways, not creating any takeaways, and not winning on third down, both of which is very uncharacteristic for this defense. And so, self-inflicted, but I wouldn't say the mood today is deflated at all. I think it's hopeful for what you have, because there was a lot of really good things to come out of this game, and that's a very cliche thing to say after a loss, but there was a lot of things that, yes, you take away from it, you get better, you're going to see this team again. And from the way things are looking with both of these schedules for the Cowboys side and the Eagles side, it seems very likely that this could be a very tiebreaker game come December. So look, take your lessons, learn from them, apply them, execute them, move forward, and just know you see this team again here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, run your race is what Dak Prescott said, is that we have to run our race. And I just like that, because I think a lot of people would argue that right now it's out of their hands now as far as winning the NFC, because of the fact that they could have taken the NFC or taken a step forward in getting home field advantage in the NFC right now when you look at the playoffs. But I do think that this team is trending up in so many different spaces, especially when, we talk about it on this show, ladies. We're looking deep within the game. We're looking within the film. We're looking at, and there are a lot of little improvements that have been made, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, from
5 weeks ago till now, and we've talked about Dak Prescott and how he's evolving. If your quarterback's going to play ball like that, you're going to win a lot of games. And so there's encouraging things to take away from this game. I thought that Mike McCarthy mentioned something. He mentioned it the other week. He talked about how uncharacteristic these wins have been in a way that it's blowouts. It's them, and again, I like that the team has the ability, all three phases, some of these big games that they've won where they turned it up and it was over when they decided to do that. Love that. But one thing that I asked him a few weeks ago was, how does that change, your momentum and also experience when when the fourth quarter in some of these games, your starters are on the sideline, and that's just not normal in the NFL. And he mentioned today, that they're getting in these tight situations is good experience for them to learn how to manage the clock when you have no timeouts. You got a lot of young players on the field trying to figure things out. And so for me, I do think that the experience that they're getting in this, specifically in this game, could help them moving forward and how to finish these games, especially since in this season to this point, they haven't really had to finish a game in this way. So that I'm not in the super negative party right now. I understand the game could have been won and everything, and there was a lot of miscues and penalties and things of that nature, but I do think that this team is trending up as far as them knowing each other and then also learning from the mistakes. It's a lot of accountability, too, and I don't know if we've seen that often, as much accountability that's been taken by these coaches this year.
Yeah, and by the players themselves. So, for example, and I don't think that this was more kind of I won't say walk-off, but you probably won't see this on video because a lot of the reporters had moved off to talk to other people. But Jake Ferguson, after he talked to the TV camera, some of the beat reporters came in after getting Mike McCarthy. So he kind of had a second round of interviews, and he was taking responsibility for one of the penalties on delay a game, that one in that last drive that was so crucial that late getting in didn't really get the call, the communication, and so it affected how they lined up, and the clock ran out. And then you have Luke Schoonmaker. I'm not trying to pick on the tight ends. I'm just using this as an example of he knows he's got to take that route just a little bit deeper. I mean, he literally missed it by six inches in terms of getting the ball on the goal line. And nice play by Blankenship, the safety for the Eagles. And you can argue he was there a little bit early, but whatever. Still, that you just when you have two evenly matched teams, and what did we talk about last week? You need to steal a possession or two. They weren't able to do that with the takeaways. You have to limit their long drives. Dan Quinn, as you said, pointed that out, allowing too many third downs, especially there at those long drive at the beginning and then in the third quarters. They couldn't get them off the field. Yeah. And so, and then the one thing that stood out to me in pregame conversation, talking with some different players, but mainly different members of the staff, and I kind of just do a little straw poll. I'm like, what do you see as the key? What do you see as the key? What do you see as the key? And one of them said, it's limiting the mistakes, particularly pre-snap. And because the Eagles are too good of a team, we can't beat them and beat ourselves at the same time. And what was it that came back to bite them? Pre-snap penalties.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's what was frustrating.
Yeah, I think there were so many things though that had like a lot of penalties, a lot of self-inflicted wounds, like you mentioned, Christy. But one person in particular, I know a lot of guys or a lot of fans are playing the blame game at QB1, and I'm sorry, we're gonna just break down how this offense really played very well, no matter about the miscues, and the little hiccups, I guess, on this offensive line every now and then. But this offense really played very well, especially with Dak Prescott. I'm gonna start with you, Aisha. What were you most pleased with in the way that he played in that game?
Oh, he just seems like he's just in a mode right now, y'all, where it's just he's not phased, especially with, like you mentioned, Christy, this is a chaotic situation a bit with all the fans, all the noise. His communication at the line of scrimmage was good, and he knows let's keep it a bug. Like, he knows that the right side of his offensive line is struggling. Mm-hmm. He's aware of that. And for him to be able to evade that and to be able to still be consistent in the passing game really says something about his IQ and also, too, how he sees the field. And when you talk about the receiving game, I liked that they saw that passing the ball was favorable in this matchup, and they did it. Yep. And again, we are waiting for this run game to figure its life out. We just are. Like, from a run game from a blocking standpoint. How did you feel?
I thought that Tony Pollard actually had more juice yesterday than I've seen this year.
He did.
But to your point, they weren't able to stick with the run, and you're right. It was the passing game that worked, and they were able to take advantage.
Yes, the consistency that I'm looking for from the run game. And, again, your quarterback know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, he knows that they're struggling. So for him to be able to put the game on his back to an extent, I mean, when's the last time we seen Dak pass more than 40 yards? 40 attempts, rather.
I was like, he definitely passed more than 40 yards.
My bad, yeah. But that just lets me know that he identified this is the matchups that's favorable, and he went at them. He went at them. We know this Philly secondary is not that great, and he did what he needed to do to get the Cowboys down the field. So I was impressed by his improvising and what he was able to do yesterday.
What I'll say is this game does not come down to the last 5 seconds if Dak Prescott is not your quarterback. It is lost in that third quarter already. So if anybody's putting blame on Dak Prescott, please come to my DMs. We'll chat. I absolutely... It drives me nuts to see the emotional reaction, because that's what it is. It's not logical. It's not statistic-based at all. It's just emotional thinking to blame Dak for every little thing. Could he have been better? Sure. He said after the game, there's a couple things, a couple plays that'll keep me up at night, but that's just who Dak is, and taking accountability for things he could have done better. Everybody could have done something better that would have probably, had all those things happen, led to a win, right? So it's not just Dak that played a part in this. In fact, if Dak was not in there, this game would have been lost in the third quarter as soon as that momentum shift really started to swing in the Eagles' way. They started taking control of time of possession. So, no, I think that's atrocious. That's not even a real take. No. What I will say, too, is I'm so proud of how he's progressed in this season particularly, because you're seeing all of this off-season work that he's put in with guys like CeeDee and Jake, and the time he takes out of his life to put into this job, whether it be spending his weekends out in the Dak yard, whether it be, going to different meeting rooms because he wants to, not because he has to. You're seeing all of that come to fruition. And, when you have all of your coaches saying the same thing of his confidence on the sideline, even before that very final drive, he said, we thought we were going to win this game. Yeah. That's the kind of quarterback I want. Yeah. That's the kind of quarterback everybody should want. So, again, to sit there and say Dak Prescott has blame in this, in a couple of plays, sure. So does any quarterback in any kind of loss. But yeah, I could probably count them on less than one hand. I mean, it's ridiculous. I think other reasons were the contributing factors to the loss, but Dak Prescott, he kept you in the game.
Yeah, and the vibe on the sideline, it was solid. It was confident. Oh, absolutely. And kudos to the defense for giving the offense those opportunities in the fourth quarter. They really did. So, there was never any kind of panic or questioning or anything like that. There aren't histrionics on a sideline.
Yeah, and when you have a guy like Dak, when you have a guy like Dak, there shouldn't be. But again, if you had a different quarterback, this has been firing me up all day, guys. I've been seeing Twitter.
I can see it, right?
I've been seeing it on Twitter. I'm like, oh God,
I can see it.
I didn't respond to anybody. I saved it just for you guys. But if you have a different kind of quarterback with a different mentality who is panicking on the sideline, that final drive is not going to look like that. It's not going to give you a chance at 5 seconds left.
Yeah, and Aisha, you hit it on the nail. They believe in him, especially CeeDee. Loving that connection. And this is something that actually Brian said earlier. That his tenacity for the football, his yak yardages, the way that he's able to get in and out of breaks. CeeDee's been very special, and it started, really in his offseason, building that connection with Dak. I don't know. I like the way that these receivers are really just that confidence in each other and their confidence in Dak so far. But what y'all like out of Jalen Tolbert?
Yeah.
Because
awesome.
I think he only had 7 catches for 71 yards heading into that game Sunday. So 3 catches for 49 yards on Sunday.
TD.
And his
first TD of his career. Yeah, I think I want to see more of Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah, somebody that's like, I had the opportunity to like study him when he came out the draft and look at film on him. I saw this confident, swaggy player, and obviously last year we didn't get to see that, and to kind of see him coming into his own, and even Brian Schottenheimer mentioned his awareness in that play. I think it was the play where he extended
on the fourth down.
Yeah, I think it was the fourth. No, it wasn't the fourth down.
No,
I know
was it
the touchdown?
I think it was like late fourth.
Anyway, he talked about his awareness and his and the fact that he kept moving for the quarterback, because we talked about the scramble drill and how I feel like this receiver core could improve there, and Jalen just working for his quarterback is the reason why he was even able to score. Definitely want to continue to see him, man, because not only is he doing what he needs to do, he's been running his routes correctly. He's been doing things. He's been open on film. He's also too. They mentioned, I think Mike McCarthy mentioned, he's doing a lot of dirty work as well in the blocking game, special teams, and he's earned it. I just think he's earned the opportunity to have these snaps, and him showing his reliability in a big game like this, I believe, is going to help he and Dak, continue to stay on that page, and it's something to build upon, because you need whoever is opposite of CeeDee Lamb to be able to win one-on-one on their own, and I see him doing that on film consistently. So yeah, I'm excited for him.
Yeah,
and it wasn't the touchdown either. It was fourth quarter or 2nd and 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Okay, I couldn't remember. I was like, dang it. Okay,
no, I was gonna say, so kind of the big narrative right now, and again, I've been scrolling, see y'all on Twitter. I know, Charlie's saying is about Michael Gallup and kind of where he's been playing. So what I don't want to get confused is that, yes, you've seen a dip in the amount of reps that MG is getting during these games. However, you're seeing that Kavontae Turpin, different person. Kavontae Turpin too, but Jalen Tolbert's rep count getting higher. Yeah. And people are saying, oh, it's because of MG. Okay, it could be, but no, it's because he's earned this opportunity, like you said, Aisha. He earned the right to take those snaps. He earned the right to be where he's at, and I guarantee you, MG's not feeling any way about how well Jalen is performing, because he knows, he's seen the progression of him go through it. And so, again, you're talking about when it comes to Jalen Tolbert, what has he done? Well, he has put a year in of kind of staying behind the curtain, learning, growing mentally, physically. Mike McCarthy talked about how on Saturdays, Tolbert would be here in the weight room. He said a consistent guy in the weight room on Saturdays working on that part of his game even last year. And then you go into minicamp and OTAs. What do you see? See a little bit of a more quick progression from Jalen Tolbert, which you just didn't know what to expect at that point. Go into training camp. Brian Schottenheimer starts talking about his notebook and how fascinating his notes were when he comes to note taking. And then you talk to JT and you compare it to even just last year being in the locker room, two different people, two different confidence levels, and two different players, because he worked to be that player. He worked to earn those reps, and he's worked for every opportunity he gets in these games. So I don't want it to get muggy with, oh, it's because of MG that he's getting these reps. No, it's because of Jalen Tolbert that he's getting these reps.
And it helps that you're learning from a guy like CeeDee.
Yep. Yeah. And Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, and Brandon Cooks too. Yeah. And just to put in perspective the way that Tolbert's reps have increased, he had 31 snaps on offense. There were 75 offensive plays yesterday. He had 31, so 41% of the snaps on offense, and then tied for most snaps on special teams with 21. So on offense, he had 5 fewer opportunities, 5 fewer snaps than Michael Gallup. But you're right, Jess. It's building. He's getting more as the season goes along.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and take our first break. You're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be right back.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
The season for youth football and dance camps presented by Invisalign. Don't miss your chance to learn from the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and former NFL players at AT&T Stadium on December 22nd and 23rd. Celebrate the holidays with the Cowboys. Register today at dallascowboys.com/camps. Fun.
That sounds like fun.
Just
real lit.
You know, the weather, it's like 80 degrees outside. So I just need the weather to decide what season we're in. And then we can start
before
to
you're feeling Christmassy.
Before we can feel a little bit more like
I said, Alexa, what's the weather outside? She's talking about it is 81 degrees.
Yes.
I said, excuse me?
Yeah, it was 67 degrees at kickoff yesterday in Philadelphia.
Insane.
And
That's not bad,
I didn't even
That's
put on a
nice.
jacket, and it's a 4:30, by the middle of the first quarter it was dark,
Yeah.
right, with daylight savings, and I was just in a sweatshirt all day. And
I'm
it's
so
like,
glad. You be looking so
yeah.
little with that hoodie on.
Yeah, actually, one of my favorite photos from the sideline is we had that game. I think it was 2016. It was the Pittsburgh game. Oh gosh, it was so cold.
Oh.
Might have been longer than that. But Jay Ratliff, he was our defensive tackle, and so luckily he left his parka on the sideline when they went in at halftime.
Put it on.
So I grabbed the parka and I'm sitting on the bench and putting my feet in the seats, where it's heated. But Bone Crusher took this great picture of me, and all you see is this big cape and these little eyes. I looked like a Jawa, from Star Wars. But hey, you take the warmth wherever you can get it.
I need to see this picture,
Yeah.
please. I have a
Yeah,
good
so we can
edit
find
I
it.
have in my head that I can make for you. So
This Texas weather is a little bipolar for me. I'm from Houston, but it's a little way too bipolar. I don't.
Just decide what season it is. That's all I'm asking. Stick to one. Let's go with that.
We should have good weather for Carolina in 2 weeks, so that'll be the next. So at home against the Giants this coming Sunday, on the road at Carolina, then a crucial 3-game homestand, and then a December trip to Buffalo. So we'll make up for it there.
I'm so glad. I'm so tired of being on the road. Oh my gosh. I mean, we do need to get some road wins, but I do think some home cooking will be good for them to kind of get their feet.
And these next 2 games against opponents that are struggling, and with the Giants, with whether it's going to be Matt Barkley or Mike DeVito.
But even next week though is
wow.
not easy because the Washington Commanders. I'm already thinking about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we got Giants coming.
Yeah, we got Giants. Then we got Commanders
Carolina.
coming Thanksgiving. There we go. But no, I mean we say
Just
it's
a crucial
it's
chunk
very
of the schedule.
crucial.
Good win for the Commanders yesterday to stay in the race. Because with trading Chase Young and Montez Sweat, I think a lot of people could have viewed that as maybe they were packing it in for the season, but no, they showed some great resolve.
But I don't know if I even thought that because they went neck and neck with the Eagles though and took them to overtime.
I don't
So I
like
was
them
like,
people. I'm telling you right now, I don't know what the Commanders' problem with Philly is, but they play them
They do.
so tough.
It's
like
all about
their Super
matchups,
Bowl.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
it
like
is.
their Super Bowl.
Yeah,
It's a big deal.
I mean, to be
too.
fair, the Commanders have a little bit of a history of taking these NFC East rivalry games and throwing it all out there. I mean, do we remember Benchgate? That was that was a thing.
That was hilarious.
That was a whole thing.
That was ridiculous.
I'll never forget that.
But Sam Howell's playing Sam Howell's playing some good ball. I love to see young quarterbacks developing and learning, and you can tell that he's starting to get it. So I don't expect for him to come in here when the Cowboys do play him and just roll over. But let's talk about that.
Yeah. What you see about with this Cowboys defense, there were a few opportunities, especially at the end, where it looked like Micah was going to get that fumble on that last. I thought he had his hands on it and just live from the sideline. I'm like, there it is.
Yeah.
But that was the most unusual play. First of all, the Eagles, they just need the run, and they send A.J. Brown in motion, and he runs into DeAndre Swift, the running back.
He took a
and it
nap.
created and it was one of the best hits of the game. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
it was
took a
friendly fire
nap.
for an Eagles standpoint. But oh man, that was the opportunity there. Golly,
It was frustrating. Like, to your point, I mean, even what Dan Quinn mentioned about just they weren't able to get takeaways, and they weren't able to get off the field on third down. And it's just frustrating because I felt like so many times the ball just bounced Philly's way.
Exactly.
And that's when you start looking at, like, everyone talks about it in football, is that there is some luck that goes into this as well. And now it just wasn't that day.
But this secondary, though, someone mentioned it in the press conference, how they have not allowed, and the only team in the NFC who has not allowed a receiver over 100 yards.
Or
rushing yards.
Well, that put the jinx on it, so.
Yeah. But the thing is,
knock on everything.
But the thing was, though, and I thought Dan Quinn saying this was pivotal, is like he cares about the yards, he cares about the in-between stuff, but it's the scoring that he's the most concerned about. So even though, credit to this defense for what they did in this game, it's the scoring that makes the difference. And then obviously, like he mentioned, the lack of turnovers that they were able to get. So I got a lot of respect for what they did, but at the same token, I do think them not being able to get off the field on third down it hurt. Like, you could feel it, especially even on that first drive where they had opportunities, and it was just like. And I understand, because Philly does put you in a stressful situation with the fact that how they handle the fourth down. It's an extra down. They don't care. If they're close enough, they are going. And so for your defense, I do think that it puts a lot of stress on them to almost play perfect on second down and third down. So I don't know. Like you said, it's a learning experience, and it's something that they'll grow from, I suppose.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, mine was just the penalties. I know they have 2 in the first half, 8 in the second half. I think 5 of them came from defensive penalties. Wow.
Don't get me
Jess
started.
is over it.
It was tough.
In those moments, especially with a
started.
game like Philly, you have to play discipline. You're not going to get any calls your way. That's what sucks.
20 accepted penalties.
Both sides, though.
10 each.
It's not like we can sit there and be like, oh, it was just on the Cowboys. It was on both sides.
But it also
it
matters when it was.
Right. It was the timing of it. However, like, you can't just call holding on one side and then not call it for the exact same thing. Like, 4 drives later.
Consistency is all we were asking for.
Exactly. That was the frustration, was the lack of consistency. So, for example, when there's a hands to the face to Michael Gallup, how do you pick up the flag? So,
or the non-existent DPI on Stephon?
That was tough. So
I still don't see it in the room with us.
So
I've watched that clip at least 50 times.
Yeah, they said that they hindered his A.J. Brown's movement, but that was a tough call.
I'm just going to stay quiet so I don't say anything.
That was a tough call, but there were ones that they got right. You cannot be Rashaan Evans and be elevated from the practice squad and on a touchback on a kickoff, and you're in kickoff coverage, and you get a personal foul for going to the face mask.
Sit your tail down.
So very unfortunate, because that's what gave the Eagles the good field position, short field on their scoring drive. And so there were just some very, very frustrating things. And then the real crucial penalty on saying that Chuma Edoga did not report, and so it was an illegal formation. And that's one where you just have to make sure that when you communicate to the official, that the referee does the symbol, acknowledges, makes the call, and they also make an announcement over the loudspeaker, into the referee's microphone, so the whole crowd can hear it, as well as the defense. And so, again, just very, I won't say ticky-tack, because that one, either the official acknowledges it or he doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
So you just have to make sure that you communicate it well enough that you get that acknowledgement.
Yeah, this was the 3rd most penalized game by the Cowboys so far this season. And look, let the Eagles have their penalties. But again, if you know what kind of game is being called at this point, and you knew well into that 3rd quarter, you better stiffen everything up in your body, do not move, and you play extra disciplined at that point. Because it was evident how this was going to swing fairly quickly in the middle of the 3rd quarter, I would say, when you started to see more of them being drawn. And I just, it's such a hard tightrope to walk on, because I understand the aggression that they're trying to play with. And we talked about that fine line of finding the aggression, especially when you're talking in terms of DBs, and you don't want to play too soft, and you couldn't for this game. You just couldn't play too soft, and you had to do that. But man, it was frustrating. Those penalties came. They helped you. They helped you in that last drive. They sure helped you in that last drive. And then they turn around and got you right back.
Those that giveth also taketh away.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Who's someone that you want to see more from? Because mine is Stephon Gilmore. They kept targeting him, and he kept getting beat every single time by AJ Brown. That one-on-one matchup, I don't know. It didn't sit right with me because you expect more from a 5-time Pro Bowler.
Well, that's why I asked. That's honestly, I mean, that's why I asked. And we love us some Jordan Lewis on this channel, but that's why I asked Dan Quinn about the crossers and the things of that nature, because they have given the Cowboys secondary issues now. Credit to them, because I mean, AJ Brown was quiet, baby.
Yeah,
he was quiet in comparison. He was extremely quiet, and so I will say I did feel like the secondary played together well, but they were attacking your nickel corner, which is it's one of the spots that you can choose to attack. It's one of the easier things to scheme, in my opinion. But when you talk about the crossers and all this stuff, you know, Dan Quinn mentioned that you have to be able to play a mix of zone and man, and they're still, still gelling. But I thought that this secondary played considerably well, given the fact that you're going up against receivers I mean, because you would have, AJ would have a 125 plus, but you also have Smith, Devontae Smith have 50 yards just to tack on just an extra whatever. But the fact that they were able to eliminate him, and even Dallas Goedert, it's this secondary did their job for the most part. And as far as like the pressure, and especially too with how fast Jalen Hurts gets the ball out.
There's a lot of Jalen
so quickly. I was looking at, Micah, he was almost home a lot of times. This defensive line was almost home a lot of times. But when you got a quarterback that's getting the ball out that fast, it's just difficult. But I was pleased with some of the pressure they were able to get in some moments.
Boy, people talk about Jalen Hurts improving his accuracy.
Oh yeah, he
that pass to Devontae Smith, that touchdown,
and
Bland over Bland.
I mean, what else can Bland do there?
Right.
Yeah, double move there, and they just ran right by me. It was right in front of the Dallas sideline. I saw him, and I'm like, all right, Bland's got it. He's with him, and the ball was laid so perfectly there.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just have to tip your cap.
It's almost like some people get paid to do that on the other side
they
of the ball
do,
sometimes,
really?
Yeah,
wow, amazing.
No,
amazing.
That's part of that position, though, and I think people forget when you're talking in terms of a cornerback, that sometimes that you just get a perfectly placed ball, and it doesn't. It's not a testament to what Duran didn't do in that position. He was right where he needed to be. But man, it's crazy. And in terms of Jordan Lewis, I wanted to touch base on this because, we heard especially this conversation surrounding the O-line and Tony Pollard with coming back from injury. Jordan Lewis is also coming back from injury at this point. So it's a foot. You kind of need that to be a productive cornerback, everybody. So again, when you're talking about the kind of injury he's nursed to come back from, it's not like these football players, don't work their tails off to come back, and you still need those in-game reps, right? And you're talking about a guy that didn't get any time at training camp, who didn't get any preseason because he was still nursing that to come back. And so again, you're seeing a slower progression of where these guys all are in their seasons because of injury, because of other things that they've had working against them from the start of the season. So I'm not sitting here blaming Jay Lou for nursing a foot injury that he's returned from, because that's just the reality of looking at the situation for what it is. So I've been hot about this all day. I don't know if you can tell.
We can tell.
I'm really
went from playing. He also too the Trayvon Diggs situation really changed things also
People
too,
need to
because
stay out of my mentions.
Yeah, because Deron Bland is your nickel corner.
Yeah, he went from playing. He played 10 snaps the week before. Yeah. Trayvon got injured, and it was like, hey man, we need you to slide to nickel. You're gonna have to, ain't no ramp up.
And by the way, nickel is your base offense. Base defense now.
Yep.
There's no more 4-3. It's all it's always either nickel, and the Cowboys play a lot of dime too. And because of the great athletes that they have at safety, when you have the J-Ron Curses and now Israel Mukwamu working, Donovan Wilson doesn't even start, but he's able to work in. And so it's fun to see the way that Dan Quinn has been able to adjust to the loss of Trayvon Diggs and have everybody still have a major contribution to the defense.
How did you see the morale from this defensive unit on the sidelines?
It was a taking care of business thing. I mean, sure, they knew they needed to get off the field. They knew it. But one thing that Brad Sham and Babe Laufenberg were saying in our Cowboys radio broadcast last night is Nick Sirianni, who is not only the head coach of the Eagles but also the play caller, he really sees their drives as instead of 1st and 10, it's 1st and 9. Because if they can get 9 yards on the first 3 plays, they're going to use the brotherly shove, the tush push for the thing. And to see that live, to see that there was, I mean, it looked like no chance to stop it. I mean, and they weren't just barely getting it; they were getting 2 yards. And I mean, it's like, oh, here we go again.
It has to
here
be
we
the
go
more.
again.
I don't care what anyone says. It has to be upsetting or frustrating for any defensive unit to have to go up against it, because there's just, you can't practice it. You know, you're not supposed to. Well, you can practice it, I guess.
Well,
but
no, you can't, because you only get Here's how it works with NFL practices. Okay, it's an 18-week season, 17 regular season games, and a bye week. You are only allowed a maximum of 14 padded contact practices in a regular season. That is by rule. That's part of the collective bargaining agreement between the players' union and the NFL. And so even when you're in full pads, you're not tackling, you're not taking anybody to the ground. So yes, you can replicate the formation and assignment, but there's not the execution of the tackling or the getting the leverage, going down on the ground and getting below the player in front of you, because that play is all about leverage. But the other thing that they do a great job of is Jalen Hurts will take that play clock down to about 2 or 3 seconds, and he's given the dummy calls, and he's trying, when you're a defensive lineman, well, everybody's crowded up to the line at that point, but he's trying to draw the penalty, and so you've got to be off the ball, off the snap, to have any kind of chance to stop the play, but he's also trying to get you to jump. So that makes it harder too. You got to hold your water, right, until you see the ball snap.
You watch it back on the replay, and all you see is Jason Kelce just hammer it, and the 2 guards just pile up and lift that little. It's so amazing to see on the replay.
Well, here's the thing about the tush push. It's with how Jalen Hurts is barely holding up, it's not going to be amazing if somebody hits him wrong. And they continue to do this with the state of his knee right now.
It will be interesting to see if they pull up back from it as they go along.
Especially with the next 6 games they have.
My heart sank when you saw him get hit in the knee by Tank during this game, because he's fragile right now with that knee, and one wrong move in that kind of tush push situation, he gets popped in the knee, and then what?
Yeah, I just can't believe.
I mean, it's so unsafe for him to be doing it, and you have a long season to go. You're only halfway there, and if you want Jalen Hurts to be healthy and able to play come playoff time, I wouldn't be shocked to see them pull back a little bit, because you have to protect your quarterback.
I was even shocked at his mobility, though. Like,
he's not as mobile.
Mobility, he wasn't as mobile as normal, but he still was making plays with his legs, and I was just kind of like,
I'm not gonna say nothing out of pocket, but I wasn't surprised after he came out at halftime.
Yeah. On that note, we'll be right back. We're going to take our second break. You're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be right back.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
frame-worthy get a frame-worthy holiday photo with your family with Santa at the Star, presented by Monument Realty. Santa Claus will be at his Cowboys-themed cottage in the Star District from November 18th through December 24th. Book your visit before December 9th and save $5 with code STAR5. Visit stardistrict.com/Santa for more information. It's always really cute. You should check it out.
I can't believe it's coming.
Yeah, and if you're coming on a Friday or a Saturday for Christmas at the Star, it starts November 17th, not this weekend, but the next weekend. Just make sure that you go ahead and make your reservation if you want to get your photo with Santa at the same time, because it gets kind of crowded on that Friday night and Saturday night. Yeah. It's free, open to the public, Tostitos Plaza, 6 o'clock on Fridays and Saturdays.
All right, let's go ahead. We have a few minutes left. Let's first shout out Brandon Aubrey for breaking the NFL record to start a career. Most made field goals, 19 for 19. Shout out to him. But let's also talk about Cavante Turpin with that shoulder injury. I think that was the first quarter.
It was 5 seconds left in the first quarter. It was on a punt return, and Patrick Johnson, the backup linebacker for the Eagles, was in coverage. And when he took Cavante to the turf, it was not an illegal play or malicious, but the way that he kind of drove Cavante into the turf, and Cavante landing on his left shoulder, and they were saying ribs, but when they took him into the blue medical tent, I could see that they had removed his pads as well as his jersey, and the equipment staff was coming over. I'm like, it looks like they're either going to do like a harness. That's not unusual for a player to be harnessed up and be able to finish a game.
In the harness?
And wearing a shoulder harness. Yeah, you have to. It'll go under your shoulder pads, and then, but then also with the ribs, they were adding some protective padding and the like. But he missed only. That was a long drive that the Cowboys had off of that same punt return, that offensive series. 10 plays later, Cavante Turpin comes in. He goes in. He lines up on the left side in the slot at the 5-yard line, and Cavante's first playback targets him, and he hits it, and it was a nice catch too.
I couldn't believe when I saw
what
him.
A tough guy. What a tough guy.
Yeah.
And he went back and did the rest of the punt returns, and he only missed one kickoff return that was later in the third quarter. Rico Dowdle took over. But hopefully Cavante is able to get through practice this week and be okay to play, because the Cowboys were in an interesting situation, and that is the backup punt returner, Deuce Vaughn, the backup running back, the rookie, was inactive again this week. Yeah. So that's 3 straight weeks that Deuce Vaughn has been inactive. So if Cavante wasn't able to finish, certainly you had Rico Dowdle to handle kickoff returns, but on punt returns, they probably would have used C.D. Lamb for a safe return, meaning they're not going to have – he's just going to catch the ball and secure it and not try and run around and get hit. Or Wanye Thomas has that kind of background from college, so that would be – an interesting situation. Hopefully we don't have to find out this coming Sunday against the Giants. But, man, that Cavante Turpin, that's one tough dude, that is for sure.
Y'all already know
I was surprised he went back in that quickly.
Y'all already know where I stand on this Terp train. I have been conducting the Terp train for a minute, and I'm so happy to see how much success he's having right now. And he fights. That's something about Cavante Turpin. When I think of him, the first word that comes to my mind is fight, because he has fought for opportunity. He started only special teams. Now he fought to be more integrated on the offense. He fights for yardage. He fights for availability. He fights constantly. So proud of him, and I was not shocked to see him back out there getting a touchdown on his first play back in after that, because that's the kind of player he is.
Baby, I looked up. I said, number 9. After seeing how he got hit, I expected for him to at least, have to. It sounds like they took care of him fast. So credit to the training staff and those folks to get him back out there that fast.
It was relatively quick.
Yes,
I think it was like 7 minutes or so.
Yeah. So the one good thing was the injury came with 5 seconds left in the first quarter. So you did have that commercial break. Yeah. So that gives you an extra 2 minutes. Yeah. But still. I mean, that's fast. He came over to the bench first, and Dr. Cooper was checking him out, and they did that for a few minutes, and before they actually moved him into the tent. Yeah. And, that's when they pulled all the gear off, checked him, give him a little bit more of a exam before outfitting him to send him back out on the field.
Yeah, he's one of the dudes that we talk about, guys being worked into this offense and stuff, just kind of seeing him grow within this offense and be a factor. I'll tell you one thing, teams respect his speed when he's motioning. Yeah. He does a lot, even if he's not getting the ball. They're respecting the fact when they see him move, he's getting back information, he's clearing out lanes, he's making space for guys. So I'm just, I've definitely liked seeing him grow as a receiver in this offense. But I do have a question though, we love us some Aubrey, but our boy Banks shot something
Oh my goodness,
today. Yesterday, then
off of the upright on the extra point,
and then he had the kick out of bounds that put them in good
at the
field
40-yard
position.
line. Yep.
Was that? Did you know if that was intentional or were they trying to kick away from someone?
Yeah, that I don't think it was intentional, and it was not due to weather or wind or anything like that. So
it's almost like he's had to score most of the points at the start of the season, and he needs to not be kicking as much.
I mean, but he also needs to kick.
Well, he needs to kick those. But when you've had a kicker that's scored 19 of 19 and broke an NFL record, there's a reason it's a record. And
he hasn't been used as much as of late, though.
I'm saying, though, that we want to talk about progression when it comes to injuries, progression when it comes to kickers.
Yeah, this is the first mistake I've seen him made
since missing his very first attempt in game one was that. But that's the one thing in terms of like complimentary football that we always talk about, and it was kind of like the penalties towards the end of the game last year. Giveth and yesterday, giveth and take away, and that's how I felt about special teams, because the penalty on Evans that put the ball at the 40-yard line, and then Aubrey's mistake where the kick goes out of bounds and gives him the ball at the 40-yard line. That was tough.
Execution.
And evenly matched, evenly matched game with two really good teams with equal strengths. We talked about flipping the field. And two mistakes flipped the field the wrong direction.
Just shy away from a win yesterday, but we still got a lot more ball left to play. You see what I was trying
to
we got bars. No, 9 games left, y'all, on the season. Still a lot of ball left. Yeah, a lot of time.
So much.
A lot of time. We got a rematch with the Eagles in December.
NFC went down into last year. It went down to week 16?
Yeah.
Man, stop playing. It's a lot of football to be playing.
And we talked about the schedule that the Eagles have after their bye week. Come out of the gates with the Niners, and then you just keep going and going.
And the loss of Goddard is important.
It is. It's fractured forearm. Yeah. And that reports earlier today out of Philly were that Goddard, the Eagles tight end, that fractured right forearm. Ooh, that happened right in front of me. I saw it. I was like, that was not good. Anyway, but it'll require surgery, and so he is a real key cog to that offense.
Yes.
All right, ladies. Well, we'll be right back tomorrow talking Cowboys, of course. But that'll do it for today's episode of Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!